Ahoy hoy, I'm Planet Walk, and it has happened. I have been caught in the Sextant trap. Oh, how terrible that is! My reputation has been ruined beyond repair. Or at least that's probably what Mitchell from Australia would like to think. Little does he realise that he is the one making a fool of himself for repeating the same terrible arguments time and time and time again. They don't get any better the more that you say them, Mitchell. Now, Flat Earthers repeating bad arguments is nothing new, however, I didn't realise that their arguments for the Sextant proving Flat Earth could get even worse. It turns out that they could and did get even worse. I also have a little bit to add to this discussion that I didn't mention in my previous video. So let's take a look at what Mitchell has to say, shall we?
We're just going to be talking about this bloke here. Plainer Walk. I don't know how he has almost 12,000 subscribers.
Look, Mitchell, I don't know how I did it either, but maybe if you actually had good arguments, then you'd be able to do it as well. Of course, that would mean that you'd have to stop being a flat earther, so I don't really see a downside there.
The content that he produces is just so bad.
Mitchell, I've seen some of your content, and I can hardly call it better, my friend.
Like, I don't know about you guys, but I find it hard to, number one, just look at the bloke. He doesn't present himself too well.
Well, that is fair, but keep in mind that I did used to look like this, so compared to that, this is an improvement. Feel free to disagree if you want, but I do have a difficult time looking at myself there.
And number two, his accent, New Zealand accent. Yeah, a couple of ad homs to begin the stream. Don't ad hom anyone, I say, and then I go and ad hom the bloke, but...
Mitchell, two things. The first is, I appreciate you not wondering how I say deck. The second is, you didn't actually ad hom me there. An ad hom is not a piss poor attempt at insulting someone. So I'm not ad homming you either.
So this is Plainer Walk. And he is the latest person caught in the Sextant trap. This video is titled, "The Sextant Proof for Flat Earth is Worse Than I Could Have Imagined." Yes, and we're going to see why. It is very painful for people like Plainer Walk.
I'll actually give him that. This whole Sextant proof is actually very painful for me. Although that's the same with all Flat Earth stuff. I have just had a constant migraine since I started talking about Flat Earth on this channel.
The number one Flat Earth proof, we're calling it. It is the Sextant. You do have to love how the number one Flat Earth proof changes every couple of months. I remember when it was the Black Swan.
What? 23 months on, and he still does not get the Black Swan. So I think we need to just remind Plainer Walk what the Black Swan actually is, shall we?
Mitchell, don't get me wrong, I know perfectly well what the Black Swan is. It's an observation where the horizon appears to be behind some oil platforms. Flat Earthers argue that if the Earth is a globe, then based on globe Earth calculations, the horizon must be in front of the platforms. Because it is not in front of the platforms, therefore the Earth can't be a globe. However, this argument assumes that refraction has no impact on the apparent position of the horizon, which it does. If refraction had no impact on the apparent position of the horizon, then we would not get any images where the horizon is in front of the oil platforms. But we do get those images.
Modus tollens states, if P, then Q. Not Q, therefore not P. If P, we live on a globe of radius 3959 miles, then Q, every horizon distance measurement cannot be more than 1.23 miles times the square root of the observer height in feet. Not Q, the geometric horizon is far greater than 2.73 miles for 5 foot. Therefore, not P. The Earth is not a globe.
Again, the hidden assumption in that argument is that refraction has no impact on the observation that we're making. If refraction had no impact on the observation, then the argument would work. However, refraction does have an impact on the observation.
Now that is the Black Swan argument, the modus tollens, which ends in the Earth is not a globe. It's not a flat Earth proof, Plainer Walk.
To be fair, most arguments that I hear in support of flat Earth are just denying the globe. saying that, oh, this can't work on the globe, so therefore the Earth must be flat. The same goes for most flat Earth proofs that I hear. It's not evidence for a flat Earth, it's evidence that appears to be against a globe Earth. But here I can actually appreciate Mitchell having at least some awareness that just because something supposedly debunks the globe Earth, that doesn't mean that it's proof for a flat Earth. I can appreciate that.
And I'm pretty sure he's one of those guys that said, upon hearing the Black Swan argument, well, you wouldn't expect to see the geometric horizon. Sorry, I did that in a horrible accent. You wouldn't expect to see that geometric horizon, in his New Zealand accent. Yeah, would you play in a walk?
Well, as I pointed out in a video a long time ago, we don't actually see geometry, we see light. And if light is being refracted, then it's going to look different than the geometry that it was reflected off.
In the globe narrative, when we're looking at the horizon, it is, and always has to be in every case if you think you're living on a globe, the geometric, physical Earth curve. The thing that blocks the bottoms of ships as it goes over the horizon. The things that obscures things at a distance.
Okay, so I think I know how Mitchell is completely misunderstanding this. So I'm going to try and explain it. So as we all know, well, the people who aren't flat earthers anyway, things disappear bottom first because they get blocked by the curve of the Earth. There's a big Earth in the way between you and the object. So any light that would travel directly towards you is blocked by the Earth. Now what it seems like Mitchell is attempting to argue is if there is a big Earth in the way, shouldn't any light that attempts to go from here to here be blocked by the curve of the Earth? Now the answer to this is, well, if light is just going directly from here to here in a straight line, yes, but that is not what is happening with refraction. So you'll notice that there is a dotted line going up here. Now that is a path that light can take. If you were up here, you would see the object unobstructed. However, under conditions like those seen in the Black Swan, that light would be bent downwards instead. So now that this light is being bent, we can see it because, well, it's not being obstructed by the Earth. Light that would normally try and travel directly towards us, yes, it's still being blocked by the curve of the Earth, but the light that would have travelled off that way now gets to us. It really isn't all that difficult to understand. Refraction can cause things that would normally be blocked by Earth curve to be visible again.
The horizon is no longer the physical, geometric barrier to block anything. It's optical.
Well, the horizon that we see is optical because anything that we see by definition must be optical. However, the Earth curve blocking light, that can still happen regardless of whether the horizon is optical or not. So a tangent line is a line that only just touches a curve, like this line on this.
There it is right there. The tangent line. What is it? A line that touches the curve. The curve of the Earth that he's assuming that he just threw away when looking at the Black Swan. If you're assuming that you have a tangent line, you're going to need R for that. But what's he doing?
Mitchell, that may have sounded smart in your head, but to get a tangent line, you don't actually need to know the radius of the Earth. And also, there are various ways to measure the radius of the Earth that don't involve looking at the horizon. Now, if you had someone standing on the circle where the tangent line touches the circle, that tangent line would be completely horizontal to them. And this tangent line would be able to be derived from something like a level, for example. So I wanted to leave that bit of the video in because even though Mitchell watched that bit of the video, he didn't address it for some reason. Maybe it was just too hard for him to understand, we may never know. It's also going to play into something that I am going to bring up later in the video.
The two elevation values are how far above the horizontal plane the sight lines are. This horizontal is derived from the stars themselves, and it's amazingly accurate, and it matches the local horizontal precisely.
To measure an elevation angle, you must have a flat horizontal adjacent.
So yeah, let's just ignore the fact that the globe model predicts what a sextant should measure,
and there is no flat Earth model that can predict anything. And also, this isn't
the globe model predicts what we're going to be doing with the sextant, is it? Let's see.
Well, yes, the globe model does predict what we should see, because as you go south of the equator, you cannot see Polaris. That is something that the globe model absolutely predicts. Not to mention that if you want to figure out your location using a sextant, then you're going to need to use a globe. And you're gonna need R for that. Where's Wally made a great video about that.
But I want to focus on a different aspect of sextant navigation today. One that perhaps has never been thought of before, perhaps has, but never modelled. And I'm going to model it. So let's start by begging the question and assuming we're on a sphere.
So this is something that does irk me a bit when flat earthers say, let's start by begging the question and assume that we're on a sphere, because you're not actually begging the question there. An example of begging the question would be saying, the radius of the Earth has been debunked, so therefore the globe Earth has been debunked. This argument presupposes that the radius of the Earth has been debunked, which by extension would mean that the globe Earth has been debunked. However, if the argument were to expand on this by explaining how the radius of the Earth has been debunked, then it would no longer be begging the question. Most arguments that assume that we're on a sphere are not doing it to say, we've assumed we're on a sphere, so therefore we're on a sphere. No, it's doing so to test whether something works on a sphere or not. If it doesn't work on a sphere, then the Earth wouldn't be a sphere. If it does work on a sphere, however, then the Earth could be a sphere.
And we want to determine our location on this sphere using a sextant. Now, bearing in mind that we must start with a sphere, if that's what we're living on. And the geometry must also work on a sphere, if that's what we're living on.
See, that argument does not beg the question at all.
Now, in order to do a triangulation using a sextant, we use the Mercator projection map, as shown here. But how do we get a flat Mercator projection map from a globe? I'll let this guy explain.
Projection. Popular rectangular maps use a cylindrical projection. Imagine putting a theoretical cylinder over the globe and projecting each of the points of the sphere onto the cylinder surface. Unroll the cylinder and you have a flat rectangular map.
So we all know that in order to do a sextant triangulation, you need to use a nautical almanac to give you the zenith of the celestial bodies. And you draw circles of equal altitude from that zenith to determine where they cross, and hence where your location is. So for shits and giggles, I'm just going to start by drawing a load of circles all over this map, like so. And then I'm going to take this map and wrap it around a sphere in AutoCAD. And on first glance, everything probably looks normal. These circles look okay, this circle looks okay, but this one, you'll see it's starting to go egg-shaped. And if we go down and look at this one, which reaches to the South Pole, this one gets pointed.
Yes, that happens. Do you know why that happens though? Because the circles that you plotted were on a projection, not on an actual globe. But here's the funny thing, because he said that he was going to use a Mercator projection, except he didn't actually use a Mercator projection, he used an equirectangular projection. But not only that, I've been spending the last few hours trying to find a single person that plots lines of position circles on a flat map. I've only found one flat map with line of position circles. That map being this one here, which I found on Wikipedia, where the circles aren't even circles. From what I've seen of people actually using sextants, they use actual lines to represent the lines of position based on an assumed position in order to calculate their actual position. So I'd like to know, is there anybody out there that actually draws circles on a Mercator map to try and figure out their position using a sextant? If so, please let me know.
Yeah, those circles of equal altitude. Is that what's predicted on your globe, planar walk? You just said that the globe predicts something about using a sextant. Yeah? Is that what we just said?
Well, the thing is, you are plotting these circles on a flat map, and obviously they're not going to be circles on a sphere because they're not being plotted on a sphere, are they? They're being plotted on a flat map. If you actually plotted the circles on a sphere, guess what? The circles would be circles on a sphere, wouldn't they? This is the equivalent of saying that wheels don't work and then attaching cubes to an axle to try and prove your point. Of course it's not going to work because wheels are round, cubes aren't. I thought that the whole horizontal plane proves that the Earth is flat stuff was really reaching to try and make an argument. But this just takes it a step further. How does it get even worse than horizontal plane means that the Earth is a plane?
There is no consideration of any curvature, any globe when using something like a sextant. It's all done on a flat map, planar walk. No predictions of the globe required. No globe required. It is an absolutely 100% flat Earth tool.
Except for the fact that when you want to actually use the sextant to calculate your position, all the maths that you use is based on a spherical Earth. But hey, if you think that you can do it on a flat Earth, why not explain how you do it on a flat Earth and actually show you using flat Earth maths to actually calculate your position?
And in the case of an elevation angle, one of those lines will be tangent to the surface of the Earth. Or we could also call it.
So one of those lines will be tangent to the surface of the Earth, you say? So what is a tangent line? A tangent line. In geometry, a tangent line to a plane curve. So it needs to be a straight line, something that you don't have, and it needs to be to a curve, something else that you don't have, planar walk. So why are we talking about tangent lines when we've got the horizontal line? You don't need that tangent.
So the reason why I talk about a tangent line is because a tangent line is basically a horizontal line on a curve, which means that you can have horizontal lines on a curve. So if you want to get an elevation angle of an object in the sky, you need two lines. First is a line from your point to the object in the sky, and second would be a tangent line to the surface of the Earth. Now the thing is, I've actually figured out the elevation angle of an object in the sky, that object being the Sun. On September the 22nd, 2020, I measured the angle of the Sun in the sky using nothing more than a bit of metal, a bit of wood, and a tape measure. Oh, and this level here. Now the area that I was actually taking this measurement, the ground had a bit of a slope, and I had to find a particular position to place this block where it was level so that I could get an accurate reading. So this means that the angle of the ground is actually different to the horizontal plane, let's say, that I got with this level. Which means that the horizontal plane can have a completely different geometry to whatever it is that you are standing upon. This is because the horizontal plane is not an actual physical plane. You absolute dope. But anyway, that is it for this video. Please do leave a like and subscribe if you like this video. I am very tired after spending hours and hours trying to find anything that could verify the things that Mitchell was saying. But if you appreciate what I do and would like to support me financially, you can do so over on Patreon. Much like Hugh Jarsz, M.C.Nutkin, James Spade, SHaKie, Wolfie, Morrie, Graymore Ghost, KidVicious, and Sacha Campbell. There should be a link right there. But anyway, I will see you in the next video. Between you and me, thank you for watching.
Upon realizing how screwed his model is, the globe model, the heliocentric model, he has to try desperately to make our strawman model look silly.
Mitchell from Australia. I'm disappointed because I thought you, out of all people, would see it.